Ever dreamed of the chance to replay a game of Age of Empires 2 online ranked to see if you could do better the second time around? Well, I've encountered the same guy twice on the ranked ladder, and let me tell you, I've played horribly both times, but I did one essential thing right the second time around. If you want to see that and the audacity of my opponent to play exactly the same game, take a look at this.
Previously on Toaster 226.
Our opponent N4 FIS plays a crazy fast feudal clicking up at 503. We play our standard 19 pop fast feudal and click up around 630. Opponent immediately builds 2 scouts to rush us, and so do we. Only that we get more damage being because our opponent is busy building the Great Wall of China. Here's a random bird. In Castle Age, my opponent goes for step lances, while silly me builds genitors. I build a silly castle, my units die miserably. I'm still building silly castle, my opponent castle drops me and wins the game.
And now the sequel of Toaster 226.
So as I said in the intro, I'm playing this guy for the second time in a row, so I throw the 11 in the chat, and he acknowledges with, well, he knows what's up. We're playing the same civs here as we did in the previous game against my Groundhog Day opponent in red as the Mongols and me in blue as the Berbers. In terms of the map, I'm gonna be honest with you, his is way better. It's outrageous. He has 2 golds and his berries in the back and can super easily wall his base, while poor me has both golds and berries in the front and more area to wall plus the nasty 1-tile gap on my left wood line. It is a true outrage. Anyway, other than that, this matchup isn't terrible at all for me because Mongols are a good civ, obviously, but they're good at cav archers and step lancers, both of which the Berbers can counter with camels and genitors. I'm not even going to get into how you pronounce that correctly. And that's exactly my plan here, given what happened in the last game, as you saw in the preview. Now, let's have a quick look at this guy's build. We know that he's trying to do something crazy, and we'll see how that unfolds. Wait a second, where's that guy going? What's up with him? Yeah, he just doesn't... Yeah, f*** that tree in particular. Yeah, I hope Greenpeace didn't see this. This was a bit nuts. But anyway, look out for that guy. He's gonna rock up in the third act later again. Little teaser there. In the meantime, we can start the list of mistakes on my side because it is long. It's a lot of small mistakes, nothing super major, but it all compounds in the end. And the first one here is that I'm trying to play my usual 19 pop fast feudal, in which I only need 2 on wood, but here comes the third wheel, and I have 3 guys on wood now. Fantastic. Not the end of the world, as I said, but in terms of optimizing your Dark Age, that definitely is a small mistake. If you want to see my fast feudal build, by the way, check out this video. It should be probably right up there. That would look pretty dumb. I hope this works. Anyway, you click that. Great video. I'm completely unbiased, by the way. The reason we're playing fast feudal, by the way, is that we're expecting our opponent N4 Fizz to play his crazy fast feudal 15 pop build order again. So I have to be fast as well. But I'm pretty much doing the opposite. Now, here comes mistake number 2, and this is a more serious one. In fact, probably the mother of all Dark Age mistakes, and it is a failed boar lure. I killed the boar with the town center, which means 0 food. Now what happened here, I think I accidentally shot it with a few villagers before garrisoning them, and then I administered the 2 kill shots with the town center, which obviously killed it, and so I don't have that. Now, our opponent is getting close to his crazy uptime. As I said, this is nuts. I'm not sure this strategy is any good. He's throwing in Loom here to avoid idle time. That's perfectly fine. I do that a lot as well when anything goes wrong. But we're going to see that this 15 pop build isn't perfect, unless he maybe didn't execute it perfectly. I'm not sure about that. But we'll see where the problem lies. And now he has to rebalance his eco pretty dramatically because he doesn't have a lot of people on wood. But he is rectifying that now. Let's see. We'll see in a second what happens here. Back to our base in the meantime. Looking at the list of mistakes. It's not looking terrible, especially if I switch that off. Oh, there it is again. The other thing is we're luring our deer a bit late, right? We're pushing them, which is great. You should always try and lure deer if you have sort of the dexterity and mental capacity to do it. I definitely don't have it sometimes, but hey, here it comes. The strategy is still to go up with 19 pop into Feudal Age here. But as you can see, we can add that to the list of mistakes. Maybe I'm distracted by my deer lure or something, but I messed that one up as well and accidentally produce a 20th population villager here. But again, not the end of the world, but as I said, these things probably compound. Let's take a quick look here. At least the deer lure is successful, so we'll happily take that. And now, looking back at Red, he's almost in Feudal Age, and we can see what the problem with his build order is. The barracks is not going to be ready in time, and even if it was, he doesn't have the required wood to drop a stable immediately. And the whole point of his build order is to pump out 3 scouts as soon as possible, which he can't do now, right? He needs to wait for the barracks to finish, and only then can he build his stable. I've put in a little timer here just to illustrate this point. The time until he starts building his stable is pretty much the same time that it takes to produce an additional villager. So he could have done that, go up with more resources as a consequence of the 1 additional villager, and this way have a better scout rush. Back on my side, I'm pretty certain right now, my opponent's doing the same thing as last time, which means that my scout rush isn't really a rush anymore because his military is going to be better than mine. So I'm trying to focus more on defense here, and I have an open map, so I can't wall it all, so I'm more focused on putting out a few spears. And look at that, the stable is not even producing anything yet. That is a mistake. But okay, not the end of the world. As I said on this elo, a lot of things go, and he's playing against me, so he is in no immediate danger. But even so, we've clicked up to Feudal Age a few seconds back, still taking 35 seconds. And then we'll be able to build army. He'll still be well ahead of us, so we'll focus on defense. Oh wow, I think N4FIS, complicated name, has clearly watched my video on walling. Otherwise he would have left that gap open. He knows you have to close that wall. He knows. What an expert. Anyway, here we go with Feudal Age as well. And let's take a quick step back here. Miraculously, he is better on all counts. I don't know what I did wrong here. My idle eco time's pretty bad. But look at that. He has more resources collected. He has more villages. He has more military. He's clearly playing this better than I am. And this is what I mean with the title of the video. I'm making a lot of small mistakes that compound. But as you'll see later, I do one thing right. And that might just win me the game. Here we come. We have our stable now, but as I said, I'm not really focused on trying to do any damage because I'm thinking he'll be dominating anyway with his scouts. And so I just pump out spear. Even pumping that out is a bit of a stretch. The other thing that he probably didn't do too well is scouting. So he has the 3 scouts, yes, but he doesn't know where I am yet. And even now he finds me, and he takes a very weird path around my base that doesn't really make a lot of sense, I would argue. And unfortunately he misses this lonely villager. Oh, that would have been such a free kill. But anyway, instead he chooses to loop far around, so I think he's playing it too defensively, and that doesn't make a lot of sense when you're playing an aggressive strategy, obviously. You're doing this to do a lot of damage in the early game, and every second counts. So he's delaying himself here effectively, which negates his crazy fast uptime. But let's move on. Continue to wall my base. I think I get another spear. Yeah, there's one by the mill and one by the wood line. And I'm not sure what he's doing, right? Maybe he's being paranoid looking for my army or something. But yeah, he really shouldn't be just idling his scouts in this case. That's almost as bad as idling your villages, I would argue. But anywho, here it comes, trying to dive in. But at this point, the scouts really aren't that dangerous anymore because I have my spear out. So nothing much there. Meanwhile, I'm playing this equally badly. I have my 1 scout. He could have gotten a free kill there. Look at that lonely villager building the wall. Similar case. So I'm not doing that either. Just chilling. But yeah. I think my defense, honestly, is also a bit of an overkill. Just as his. I have 3 spears because I expected more scouts. But he's sticking to the 3, and the other way around. He has 3 scouts and 2 spears. Doesn't really need that much. And now let's add another point to my list of mistakes. I didn't have enough wood to build that mining camp, and then I just forgot about it. So my villagers taking epic heights to drop off resources. And here he comes. He just attacks my lonely pacifist scout. That's not a great move. I mean, we've been playing this so peacefully so far. Why resort to violence now, you 3? Anyway, the 3 musketeers continue on their merry way. And my military is literally just a few spearmen. He could have done a lot more damage, but he didn't. I think he's now focusing on Castle Age. But as far as Castle Age goes, I do have the better cards. Even though my eco balance is not ideal. I have too many on food here and not enough on gold. And again, part of that mistake is also the mining camp not being there. So definitely not ideal. Here come his scouts again. Let's see what he does this time around, because he hasn't scouted a lot of my base yet. Like, he hasn't seen my wood line. He doesn't know where I'm walled and where I'm not. So let's see what he's trying to do this time around, even though it won't be much. I'm fully walled, I have the spears, like there's really, really very little danger here. But look at that, he's tasted blood, so now he attacks. Anyway, let's fast forward this a bit, because nothing much happens here. I block off his attempts, and that is pretty much it for this little episode here. The next part, this is something I like to do every now and then, right? Like, if your opponent isn't paying attention and attacking a wall and not thinking much of it, just put the spears behind the wall and then break the wall yourself, because he isn't expecting it to go down yet, and you might get a few hits in. Obviously at this point I didn't take into consideration his 2 spears, which is a problem, because I can't find all of them at the same time. So here comes a little fight. I don't know, this fight doesn't turn out well for me. I think I lose both the villager and my 2 spears, and I kill nothing. Ah, the villager survives, okay. But yeah, still, I mean, I weakened his scouts, which is good enough. Doesn't make them so scary, and my villagers can easily fight them. But still, KD-wise, he's up 3-0, so that is pretty good for him. Meanwhile, we've both clicked up to Castle Age, and you can see I'm almost a minute ahead on Castle Age without having lost too many villagers. Just 1 here on the wood line so far. I think he gets another. Yep, there we go. That's not great. So he's getting good value out of these scouts after all. But that is mainly because of another little mistake I made there with breaking the wall. I just shouldn't have done that. Would have been way easier to not do it. Now he gets some upgrades on his cavalry. That makes sense, given he's going for a cavalry play overall. And I think, yeah, we get the 2 spears here and clear that up. We'll have a closed base again. Why not? Why not? We'll take it. And now we're about to hit Castle Age here. And the idea is, again, having learned from the last game, that we're basically going into camels straight away this time. We're just going to assume that he goes Step Lancer and not Cavalry Archers like we did last time. Because so far he has played everything exactly the same as before, and I can't believe the audacity of the guy to play exactly the same thing twice. So we're just going to start it off textbook with the gold unit here that counters one of his 2 best units. Let's take a look on his side. Yep, he's going double stable again. So there you go. This will be the Step Lancer approach. We obviously don't know about the second stable in-game yet, but we're kind of assuming it because of what happened last time, right? And I don't know if this is a high IQ move of him or a low IQ move, you know? Maybe it was a he thought that he thinks that I think and so on moment. I don't know. But yeah, he's going for exactly the same thing. So let's find out if we'll do any better than last time. I think we're going to fast forward the production bit a little here. Oh, look at that. Jack again. Yeah, he's such an unsociable person. He's like, oh, f*** off. I went here to be alone. You... Oh, I think he's broken. Yeah, I think that's it. He's had enough of it all. Yep, he's on a strike. Give the man a yellow vest. That's it. He's done. Ah, here we go. Back in the workforce again. Good decision. Good decision. Meanwhile, here are my units. Again, I couldn't help it. I had to build 2 Genitors because part of me just couldn't believe he'd go for the same strategy again. But they were obviously a waste. He gets a few good hits in there. I mean, these Step Lancers are brutal. Brutal how much damage they deal. In a 1-to-1, I don't think the camels would win the fight. So in this case, I'm still sort of avoiding the fight until I have good upgrades. Because also, I mean, again, I might have checked during the game, but I might not know what upgrades he has on. So I quickly rectify that, get at least the attack upgrade and shortly also the defense upgrade on my camels. Until then, I don't really want to fight this. It seems a bit too dicey to just get in there, but we'll see. I also don't want to give up the whole map control because that was also a mistake I made in the last game. So I'm kind of just letting my camels patrol out there. I have the mobility so I can run away from any fight or get back quickly in case he does push my base at any point. Taking a quick look at resources again, it's really mind-boggling. He's almost up 2k on resources against me, or 1.5 at this stage. Villagers, he has 12 more. It's pretty brutal. Pretty brutal. But that's just playing Mongols, maybe? I don't know. Shouldn't be. That's a cheap excuse. Scratch that. I'll cut that out. No, I'll leave it in. Anyway, we might be having our first conflict here around the corner. Bit of a weird eco stuff there. He already queued up some fields that he's not using. But anyway, do we get the first fight here? Nah, we're playing it pacifist as before. So let's fast forward this. He's on stone already, so he's prepping for his castle. I have a habit of doing that pretty late, sometimes too late, and prioritizing units before that. But you can see my overall eco is behind his, and the points are also slowly but surely diverging, so I feel like I need to focus everything I do, and I can't just afford a castle that I'm not going to use pretty much immediately. Let's take a look here. I'm looking for raiding opportunities. I only now scouted that side, and I can see that the wood line is super thick. So nothing I can do there, so I come back to the middle here. Where are we in the game? Let's look at tech switches, right? I know he's seen my camels, so again I'm thinking that he's thinking that I'm gonna go and do something else. Let's take a look at this first. That is such a bad engagement for me. I easily give him 2 of my camels there for free. That is a terrible fight, and I'm gonna get cleaned up, for sure. Because on upgrades, he has 1 defense upgrade more than I do. Yeah, and the unit as such is super strong, even with my bonus against cavalry. I cannot win this fight, and he finishes it with 7 step lances. Terrible fight for me. Shouldn't have taken that, and particularly I shouldn't have let him get a few punches in without fighting back at the beginning. Right, yeah, there's his upgrade. Yeah, we don't have that yet. But in any case, talking about the tech switch again, the thing is, I now know that he has seen all of my camels, so I'm thinking surely he'll mix in something else, right? And at that point, I'm thinking again, okay, let's build the second archery range and get some genitors out. Sorry, I'm building the third stable there first. Jesus, that was a misread. But anyway, in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm clearly also gonna need another archery range sooner or later. And the f***'s up with that guy? That might be Jack. I think that's the lumberjack from before, but now they've given him a bow and arrow. Yeah, clearly, look at where he's going. If that isn't the lumberjack, then I don't know. Yeah, 100%, that's Jack. Yeah, and now he's on strike again. Nice. Oh my god. Alright, here comes the castle. See that, I think, is the first serious big mistake of my opponent. Because you can only build a forward castle like that if you can protect it with your units while you build it. And he does not have the army to build it. He knows that I have the counter unit to his in the field. He knows I'm mobile. He also knows I'm going to see this as soon as he drops the foundation, right? So this is a very, very tricky castle to place. I don't think it's a very smart move without having the army to defend it. And by coincidence, I'm pretty close to it already, before even seeing the foundation, because remember, in Capture Age, obviously you see it already, but in real gameplay, I only see it now. Not a great reaction time there from me, but these camels are going to come back, and here they come. And let's see how this fight goes. This is going to be one of the crucial moments in the game, I think, where he gives away some of his advantage. But look at the points right now, right? He's almost up 1,000 points against me. And boom, those step lances drop like flies, and the cav archers don't stand a chance either. But let's see if we can prevent this castle. I mean, this is going to be tight. This is going to be very tight. It's at 80%. 7 vills, probably 8 vills he has there. Look at the KD as well. He's losing so many villages. That's 6 villages already. Does he finish the castle? Oh, that's so tight. Ah, and there you go. That is so annoying. He finishes it with 1 villager remaining. She'll live to tell the story. But anyway, we've cleared up his army, mostly. I mean, he's building cav archers, so it's replenishing. But still, this was a good fight for us, right? And this was a very expensive castle for him to pull up. And honestly, I'm not entirely sure why he built it, because he's not blocking me off of any essential resources right now. He's not producing mango dye out of the castle. So I'm not entirely sure what the point of this was. I think it was just a reflex type of reaction. Not the best of ideas, in my opinion. So we're going to add that maybe to a mistake list for him, even though that would be a bit harsh, because he is playing this game better than I am. But I'm very determined not to let that castle survive, by the way. So I'm throwing down a siege workshop, I think, immediately. And meanwhile trying to do a bit of damage there with the camels, not very successfully. Yeah, I'm determined. I'm going to put out battering rams and take that thing down. The good thing about my camel rush here on the side is that it does pull his cav archers from the castle, so he can't defend that at the same time. And actually the engagement isn't too bad. I thought my camels would do pretty horribly here, but I get 3 easy fast kills. He gets a couple as well, but then I think I managed to pretty much just save the army. And what's going on there? The lumberjacks are going on a little field trip and back. That happens a few times in this game. I'm not entirely sure what's happening there, but yeah. Let's take a look again at the castle. So we're trying to do this with 2 battering rams. I don't usually attack castles in Castle Age, because if the army is there it's a pretty horrible trade usually, and you lose a lot of units and all that. And even if the castle goes down, you haven't made that much headway to win the game. But our army's coming back. I know that he has a weird composition, still focusing mainly on cav archers. I've built a few genitors. I've got a good amount of camels. I think I can fight this. Now, looking at our opponent's resources, by the way, this is something I love talking about, because so many people play better than me at my elo in many, many ways. But the one mistake that a lot of people make is having way too much resources in the bank. And I do not know why. It makes zero sense. He could already be clicking up with Imp with that kind of resources. Use the market, boom, you're up. But anyway, here we come. This is not a great fight for him to take. We have the anti-unit against his cav archers, even though we're missing a few upgrades, but still, this is a decent trade, so we kind of commit here with the genitors behind. The mistake we make here is we leave our battering rams alone, and that is pretty dumb, to be honest, because even one step lancer can take them out fairly efficiently. So we really should have paid more attention there, fighting two fights at the same time, so I'm going to zoom out a bit so we see both. Good thing is we're winning the main fight with the armies, I think. It's not a super clear trade, but we're clearing up all of his cav archers, and his production doesn't seem to be super fast. His numbers are dropping. But yeah, annoyingly he does get the battering ram. He also gets my my blacksmith. So yeah, a little annoying there. I could have just finished that off, but I didn't. And I would say all of this kind of demonstrates this one essential thing that I did right in this game, and that I'm talking about the whole time, implicitly, which is unit composition. I completely messed that up in the previous game, but in this game I really have it, and our opponent unfortunately doesn't have a great answer to it, I feel. He just keeps on pumping out his main units, which are cav archers and step lancers, but the problem is, number one, they're expensive. Obviously both of these guys cost gold. And the problem number two is, I have the anti-units in the field. He needs to tech switch to something cheap that works against my units. For example, he could throw in, I don't know, maybe pikemen, right? I know the genitors technically do okay against pikemen, but in mass, it might not be a bad idea. But he's sticking to it, fairly stubbornly, I would say. So I'm very pleased that I did this one thing right. And let's have a look and see how this works out, because even with that kind of better composition, it is undeniable that he's playing the better economy game. Again, look at his resources. It's mental. We're basically both ready to click up into Imperial Age here in a sec. I spent some resources there again, so not quite yet, but he definitely is, and he has been for like minutes and minutes. And just imagine what he could have done in Imperial Age, right, with all of his resources. He clearly should have won this game, and I can tell you now, and you can tell probably from the thumbnail and everything already, I'm gonna win this game, which I really shouldn't. But it's a nice example of how one good decision can kind of negate all the others, or how one bad decision can negate all of the good decisions. His resource lead is now at 7k or something. It's just silly. But we're clearing this up. And the crazy thing here is not just the whole talk about resources and late imp and all of that, but look at his military count. It's at 7. Why? Why on earth would it be at 7? Makes no sense, right? And he's just not producing enough. That's the core of this whole video, I think, on the mistake side for him. He just isn't spending his resources. When he has his production facilities are right, he could have more, obviously, but he could be spending all of that resource and have such a big army in the field, but for some reason he doesn't. Oh, another field trip. No, abort. Yeah, we're going. No, come back. Okay, there we go. Going to gold. Yeah, so here we go. So we have a bit of map control back, which is nice. Because again, the points for most of this match really weren't encouraging on my side, and it's going to get a bit worse. Because I'm, again, making more mistakes here, unbelievably enough. If you think it wasn't bad up until this point, just wait what you see next. But we have the better army here. We obviously don't know these things in games, so it's always a bit tricky to judge. But this is a fairly pointless attempt I make here. He has a TC and a castle right next to each other, a few step lancers in there, producing even more. Tons of villagers, which you could use for the rams as well. There is no point I dive in here. Absolutely no point. The trade as such is probably fine, but I don't need to fight this. That's the main point. I could just gone around the castle and attack his base straight away and then have a fight without a castle and town center involved. But hey, I still go for it. Not the greatest of fights. But here we go. We're both about to hit Imperial Age, and at this point I kind of realize I'm way too late, and that's another mistake to have a castle. I could have afforded it already, but I'm only building it now. to kick off the Treb war. Luckily, he's not producing any Trebs. In fact, his whole production is still pretty slow. So that's really my luck here. Otherwise, again, I would have lost this game also at this point. It's not like we've turned it around yet. We had a couple of okay fights and we have a bit of map control. We killed his castle and all that, but we're by no means easily back in the game. Look at his points, right? He's 1,000 points ahead of me. This is not a comeback yet. So a lot could still happen here. Anyway, we get our castle up, which is good. I think it's in a decent position there next to the stone. But still, let's see what the next few fights do. He's still suffering from the same problem. Great economy, great vil count, but his military count is just way too low. Right, he's getting a few more upgrades in here. That's good, at least spending some of his resource. But he needs to do much, much more. And we're getting production buildings up. That's always something to do in Imperial Age. Expand your production capacity because your economy doesn't now need to accumulate any resources on top. You don't need anything anymore for Imperial Age. You're getting your essential techs in, and that means you can spend all of your resources on fast production. And so always add production buildings in Imperial Age, I would say. Let's see what happens here. So the two armies are building up. We've again just fast forwarded it a little bit there. I definitely want to build more castles, so I'm scouting what he has now, because again, I'm paranoid, right? Like, surely he has to change his approach at one point, but he doesn't. Miraculously, he doesn't. And again, he's late to the Treb war. That is definitely a mistake. We have one in production that's going to come out any second now. And then we will have the big fight in the center. And I can see he only has steppe lancers at this point, right? There's like a couple of cav archers, but the main army is steppe lancers, and I'm more than happy to fight that. He kind of missed the alarm bell there, I think. And I can definitely dive in here now. And I have the traps behind, so I can start taking on his castle. And let's see. This is a pretty good fight. Like, 19 camels against 6 steppe lancers, that's a good fight. But again, diving too deep under the castle, not really necessary. And this is pretty silly again. I lose my trap here. Pop that on the mistakes list. I shouldn't lose that trap. That is unnecessary. Now I have to wait until I get another one or two out. Unnecessary. And if he was producing military seriously, this would be very dangerous. But he isn't, luckily. We're in luck. We're in luck. We're not winning this out of our genius, by the way. Yes, I do one thing right, but we're winning this because he's making a lot of serious mistakes. Especially towards the end of the game. Right, so where we're at, I'm basically thinking my Genitors can't do much here because of his strong defense buildings there. Town center and a castle. And he also has all these steppe lances, I have to assume. So I'm trying to find damage elsewhere. That's always something to do, I think. Your units should never be idle. Otherwise you shouldn't have spent the resource. So I'm seeing if I can get some raiding kills here. But suddenly his reaction time is lightning speed. Look at that. So I don't get any damage there. But again, similar to the camel situation earlier where I was raiding on the right. So here, finally I defend the trap. That is good. Do not let them get your traps. But the funny thing is here with the raiding, right? Again, it at least has the effect that he's pulling all of his army away. And he really shouldn't be doing that. My Genitors cannot do any damage other than idling his eco. And his eco is so super strong anyway, he has all these resources banked up. It doesn't matter if he's idle for a minute even with his entire economy. He has too much anyway. So he really doesn't need to send his army there, I think. Could have just let it. And this means he loses in the middle. I'm now traveling down this castle pretty fast. He did build some mangonels or onages even. I'm not sure that's a great response here. Mongols do have the bonus for their siege that they move faster, but again, I'm not sure that's a great response against what I have in the field here. So we clean up the army, we clean up the castle, and again, even at this point, I'm gonna argue he could have still produced enough military to balance out the game and maybe ultimately win it. But for some reason he's not doing that. This TC is also going down, the onager doesn't survive. And look at the resources that he has in the bank. And we're approaching the end of the game here, right? This is almost it. And rightly so, because he's missed multiple times the chance to produce the units that he could afford all along. So it's really just a case of not producing enough. And we're throwing in hussars here as well, because we realize we can raid here on both sides now. His base cannot possibly be closed anymore. And look at that, the great relic heist for the grand finale. That's the biggest heist in history. That's gonna be a Netflix documentary soon, I'm sure of it. And the game is over, he calls the GG. Yeah, as I said, we won the game because we had the right unit composition, but he lost the game because he didn't produce units. And that is why you should always focus on production, production, production when you're in Imperial Age. and spend your resources, which unfortunately he didn't. Anyway, I thought this was an interesting game because we were far behind the whole time, and technically even still at the end, but our opponent kind of gave us the win, and that's why you should never resign, and that is why this video, I think, is hopefully interesting, and if you enjoyed it, then I hopefully see you around for the next one. Peace.